Welcome back to More Moss to the People. My name is Asa Nilsson, and I am your host. Today, I have a dear, I don't want to say old friend because that sounds like she's old because you're not old. You're not old. But I have known Kate for many years. As a matter of fact, I met her back in the day when I used to work in banking at Huntington National Bank in Columbus, Ohio. So today I want
Oh,
to
wait.
welcome OHIO. Oh my God, I got to tell you a story about that. That's so funny. So Kate Visconti is our guest today, and she is, well, today you're sitting in San Francisco, California.
Yep.
Even though we met in Columbus, Ohio, you are now sitting in San Francisco. I want to welcome you to More Moss to the People. Hello, hello. And
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
thank you for
Very
being
excited
here.
to be here.
Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in so long, and it's so nice. Just I I was on. I'm not sure what's happening because I've said like to the last three people, I'm never on LinkedIn. Meanwhile, then I see everything that's happening on LinkedIn. I'm like, oh wow, that's what she's doing. That's so cool. And you had written something that we're going to be talking about now, upcoming here. But first, I want you to introduce yourself. I want you to take a minute and tell us who you are in the world right now, Miss Kay Visconti.
Who I am in the world right now. I've made a self tagline called I'm a global traveler who is a business professional who's professionally single.
Who's
Um,
professionally single? Good. Smart.
so who I am, I love to describe a couple fun things I've learned more recently about myself. So I'm an Enneagram 7, the eternal enthusiast
Mm.
who is always seeking adventure. And I am a business owner for a global consultancy. I'm an auntie, a pet sitter, um, an amateur athlete, very amateur. I'm a health nut, and I'm a comic and a photographer.
Is that it? Is that all?
Is that all?
You've got quite a list. And you're not even 50 years old. You've got a lot of accomplishments and doing
I'm
cool
in the
things in the
countdown.
world. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are you an April baby? Is that right?
I am. I'll be 50 April of 2025. So I'm in
Oh,
the countdown.
you're Aries fire. I love it. I see that. All right. Well, how I was spurred to reach out to you. You had written a post on LinkedIn and you were talking about how you live your life. And I was like, wait a minute, what? Hold on a second. Hold on. Wait. This is exactly what we stand for here at More Moss to the People. So I want to come back to what you said about you are a CEO and founder of a consultancy called Five to Flow. And interestingly, you started down that road in 2020. Is that correct?
Yeah, I registered the business, well, retired from my previous role March 6th of 2020, registered the business, and then like 10 days later the world went into global lockdown and I was like, uh, uh-oh. So yeah, when I share with people I started Five to Flow in March of 2020, I get a little like raised eyebrow. And then I have a good laugh about it. And here we are, still almost 4 years later. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been
Yeah.
great.
Gosh, what an interesting time. I think that I mean, obviously, nobody knew that that was coming. Nobody had any clue for that. But how resiliency is built, and I love what you built your business on. And we're going to be talking about all this. But first, when you coming back to this post that you talked about how you live your life today, and that you live your life out of a piece of luggage, and I was like, yes, that sounds so wonderful. Hold on, I got to read more. The post was so well written. And you talk about the fact that you don't have a home. You don't have your own home. And you travel and you stay in different people's homes. I want you to talk about this, please. Please tell
I
us
love it.
what are you
Thank you so
doing?
much. Well, the post was focused on, I think, World Multicultural Day, and
Yes.
I am coming up on 2 years of being a digital nomad, as we call it these days. And so basically, after living abroad in 2019 and a lot of 2020, between London and New Zealand, Auckland, New Zealand, I moved back to San Diego, and I was in San Diego for about 18 months. And when my lease was up, I decided I didn't really want to stay in that particular condo. And I was like, well, I don't really want to make a decision. I'll take 3 months and just put my stuff in storage, come back and find another condo here. Now, almost 2 years later, I check on my stuff in storage every now and then. But I have been writing posts every 6 months or so to catch everyone up on how many countries, cities, states, how many dogs and cats I've sat for,
Mm.
and how every single day, the first thing people say on Zoom is where in the world are you today?
Yeah.
Because it might be Belize or Cape Town, South Africa, or
Mm.
London or San Francisco or Florida, just depending on the time.
Mm. I love that.
Thank you.
I think that is admirable. Because in this day and age, when there are so many people that keep acquiring more and more and more things only to feel themselves more and more and more burdened and never putting the 2 together, um, to see that there is a model for somebody in the world choosing your passions first. You're choosing yourself and where you want to be because you are a digital nomad. You can be anywhere. You can be anywhere in the world and do your magic wherever you are. If you got Wi-Fi, my girl's going to be there. She can be at your door next. If you got a dog you want to have taken care of. So that of course comes with its own set of, I don't wanna say problems, but I mean, what do you find is the most difficult thing with that lifestyle, your lifestyle?
Oh wow. Um, well, difficulty, probably what time I have to get up and go to bed, depending on what clients I'm working on, is the
Yeah.
most difficult. I think that I acclimate
Mm,
pretty well. I'm pretty resilient. I know how to manage jet lag.
mhm,
But having said that, one of the most interesting things about it all on the positive side is treating it like an experiment.
mhm,
What I mean by that is I've learned so much about the polarization of the world by staying with people on all sides,
hmm,
um, whether they are US politics, religion, different causes. And I've always, most people know this about me, lived somewhere in the middle where I'm very much a tell me your story. I want to hear why you think what you think. I'm a very curious person.
mm,
Um, but the easiest thing is like everybody thinks their way is the right way. So the
mhm.
easiest, most benign thing I'm going to share that cracks me up is everywhere I stay with friends or family, not when I'm dog sitting and the people are away, is how people load the dishwasher.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's like the age old, like one person puts them in the dishwasher completely dirty, and I get yelled at if I waste water rinsing the dishes. Another person will completely wash the dishes, put
Oh,
them in the dishwasher just to sanitize them. And then whether you have the silverware up or down, why I'm sharing this is because everyone's experiences are what make them behave the way they do. And
mhm.
there's no one right or wrong way to run the dishwasher, but
Yes, there is.
I've decided
My way.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? And so one minute I'm staying with somebody who has CNN on, the next minute I'm staying with someone who has Fox News on. If you know much about
Yeah.
that in the US, I know you've got global listeners. But I have learned so much about tolerance and
Mhm, mm,
respect,
mm,
and curiosity.
mm,
So,
that's
despite
so
the
beautiful.
difficulties of having to be on a call at 6 in the morning sometimes or 10 o'clock at night sometimes, I've become a better person
Mm.
for doing this.
Yeah, ooh, I just got chills because it's, at the end of the day, what makes us, I think, feel more grounded and feel more connected to each other because we have to have each other. I mean, we're not meant to be alone, period. I mean, I don't believe that we're meant to be alone, and finding points of connection versus finding points of adversity or disconnection. Because I mean, what we look for, we find. God knows that is the
Right.
truth. And um, I think that's so it's so open-minded, which I can imagine, here in Sweden, I mean, every land's got their opinions. And I think that's a really gorgeous way of staying curious and having it still be fun, letting it be fun and having fun with it because, all right, I mean, listen, what's the worst that can happen, right? I mean, okay, so a phone rings during a podcast episode, who cares? It doesn't matter. And
Well, I'm like, who has a house phone anymore, right? And then it's
I'm
like
like, what's
there
that
will be.
noise?
Well, it cracks me up because this is the one place that has a house phone still, and I'm like, seriously, that's gonna ring right.
I love it.
Also, Carl the fog is really bad today for San Franciscans.
Oh
Carl the fog
God.
is bad, and the foghorn's going off relentlessly right now. So I
Oh
wasn't sure if
God.
you could hear that
No,
also.
that I can't hear. That I can't hear. No, it doesn't matter. That's like I told you when we were talking about doing this. I'm like, no masks, Kate, no masks. We show up as we are. And I'm the least perfect person that you'll ever meet. And I love it when stuff happens. And you said something when we were talking initially about, which made me laugh out loud. You said about your stuff was being shipped back from New Zealand or something like that. And you said that that you had wished that the boat would capsize, all of your stuff would be lost at sea, and you would just get the money paid from the insurance company and start over. I was like, oh my God, that is rich. I love it. I'm
I
like,
know.
I totally understand. I can see it. I
It
can
is
totally see
it
it.
is so liberating too, and it's so funny because when I'm getting dressed this morning, I'm like, I don't know if Asa does a video portion of this. And so the last podcast, I know I had this shirt on because I wear the same thing every single week because
Why not?
suitcase. So the most interesting thing I've learned about my personal like grooming, not I don't know the best word to use, like how I look all the
Uh-huh.
time and
Yeah.
like what I'm wearing and how's my hair and all these things is like what I've learned so much about is everyone's own insecurities about things. And
Yeah.
so it's like this joke I make of, well, Asa won't care what I'm wearing or how my hair looks because she might be wondering the whole time if I like what she's wearing and what her hair looks, and we're too busy wondering what the other person is thinking to ever actually like think about the other person. But you look beautiful, by the way.
And so do you. I've never seen that shirt before. So to me, you look terrific. And I wouldn't care less if I did see it before either. Yeah, you're right. It's like people don't care about us as much as we think they do.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's you're living the life over there, girl. Now I want to talk to you about the dog sitting, which is so beautiful because we just actually were talking before I hit the record button, which I did hit. Yeah. Um, you which I could totally see that I would have completely forgotten that too. The trusted house sitter. So you what you also wrote in that post that I thought was so fantastic when you said that you were living out of the luggage was that you're looking for your next gig in Tuscany. If you've got a house in Tuscany or a villa in Tuscany, you need a dog sitter, reach out to me. That is exactly right. This is how things happen is by putting it out there. I mean, if you've got a place that
Yep.
you've got a dream about, then why not? Why wouldn't you? Um, I hope that you get that. I hope you get that gig. Um,
I will 100% get that.
I have no question in my mind that you will not. I'm positive. So you say that 5 to flow. I want to talk a little. I don't usually talk that much about your business, but I want to because you said that you like to get lost in nature. So do I. How does that come into your company, the premise or the foundations or the pillars of 5 to flow?
I love that question. Thank you for tying the
Sure.
two together. So, I shared with you a little bit that after many, many years of consulting for three different global consulting agencies, I realized that in a nutshell, the workplace is broken from a promotion of health and wellness for individual people. We're at work so much, and we don't do the right things to take care of our own physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health.
Mm,
And nature is such a huge promoter for health.
mm,
Um, just taking a simple walk in the woods can completely refresh you. Even if you just take 10 minutes to go breathe in the fresh air from the outdoors, how much better it would help you perform.
mm,
So, why I am doing this traveling thing now is getting these opportunities to find where I feel the most alive
mm,
and where I might want to live
mm.
ultimately. Like I shared with you when I was
Yeah.
in Sweden,
Mm.
and the two excursions I chose were sunset kayaking out in nature, and then a hike in nature where we ended up having a little extra fun in the lake, skinny
Swedish
dipping.
way. That's the Swedish way.
And so, what we want to promote at Five to Flow is how to help people be more productive by working less time. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, but when you
Yeah.
think about a workout or cooking in the kitchen or grocery shopping when you're hungry, like when you do things in exhaustion, you're
Mm.
so much less productive. So it might take you 8 hours to get something that could have taken 4 finished, and we really want to move toward how to get more moss to the people, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's like it's
Oh,
like if more people knew how important it
mm.
was to just take a 10-minute break or go play with the cat or
Yep.
reset your brain or make sure the art in your home is peaceful and naturey, or that corporate offices where all you're doing is looking at the concrete jungle, I'll call
Oh
it.
god. Mm.
We've really depleted our brain's capabilities to reduce our stress levels. And I think anybody can apply, like, when you're
Mm.
stressed and your shoulders are hunched and you get a headache, and then you kind of lay your
Mm.
head in your hand and you're just exhausted. um, I really want people to learn about those neuroscience concepts and apply them to themselves and take control of their own boundaries.
Good.
Some things that your employer doesn't even need to know you're doing. Like, we all need to have a lunch break, we all need to have breaks. Back in the day, you used to have those 30 to 15-minute breaks or whatever
Mm.
a couple times throughout the day. So, yeah, that's the connection. I love trying to find places with the trusted house sitter app, like why I reference Tuscany,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
get out into the countryside and really enjoy the nature, not just on vacation. And
Mm.
whether you live in the middle of a city, if you can find ways to get to a green space and
Mm.
ground your feet on the grass, which I think is your story with more moss to
Mm.
the people,
Mm.
where you're just
Yeah.
laying in this beautiful moss, and how different it feels to even be productive while sitting outside, for example.
Mm.
So,
Mm. And what I find for my own sake, that I'm a very heady person. I spend a lot of time thinking. I'm an overthinker. And when I get away from, for example, my own home, which is where I live, this is where I work, this is where I spend most of my time, except for when I'm, doing actually like Swedish death cleaning or whatever. But it's like I even do that at home. So it's too much. It's too much, and I have to get out. And the second I get outside and I can start breathing and I can start looking around, and I was doing it today. I needed to center myself. There's something in my body today that feels like it's like I feel like electric. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's astrologically, but something just feels weird. And I'm like, when I started like getting ready for us, then I started to feel myself like coming down. I'm like, "Ooh, that's neat." And I was
right,
coming down when I was out in the forest because I was happy for this. I was looking forward to this. And like, like the methodicalness of prepping my space in our area and having my tarot card, pulling my tarot card for you. which we'll talk about later, but I'll just show you right now since I just mentioned it. So it's the 5 of cups today, 5 of cups.
Okay.
Yep, and what can that possibly mean? You see the gentleman, he's looking down at the cups that have fallen, and cups are about emotions, cups are about water, about, like, energetic flow. Don't pay attention to the 3 that have fallen, pay attention to the 2 that are behind. So always make sure that we're looking at what we do have, like what's the cup full, cup empty, half cup full, you know what I mean? So if there's something going on right now in the world that we just need to make sure that during this conversation that we can bring this up, that let's take a look at what is going right. Let's take a look at what we are really proud of, what we are really happy for, and the differences that people are making. People like you and your crew are making in the world, talking to these organizations about the importance and realigning ourselves with what is important. And maybe working 4 hours a day or 20 hours a week, you're going to get more joy and better production, which I mean, whatever people are doing, whatever you're doing with your company. But I think that with you at the helm, that if you are living your best life, then how can the team not? I mean, everybody's going to
Well,
benefit.
my team will crack up that I'm gonna say this if you can hold the card back up. And, it for those of you who are only listening audio, there's a letter V at the top, which of course is Roman numeral 5. And so my last name's Visconti. V is a huge
Oh,
good luck
yeah.
charm for me, as is the number 5. I
Oh,
have 4 brothers, so there are 5 of us. Um, and when I'm in growth state, I'm a 5 on the Enneagram,
okay.
and our company is based on 5 core principles and 5
Isn't
core
that
elements.
funny? Look at you picking
Yeah,
that up in 2
so
seconds flat. Oh my
yep.
god.
Also, you mentioned the word flow. So,
Mm,
the cups and the flow and
mm,
understanding free flow of energy, free flow of vibe, and flow in neuroscience, literally meaning being able to focus, remove distractions from our lives,
mm,
really
mm,
be present in the moment,
mm,
and putting things on do not disturb, letting yourself really immerse in something beautiful.
mm.
And so thank you for sharing that card.
Isn't that
It'll
funny?
be
That was
all the things.
perfect timing. I always forget that there's people actually listening without without the video. Thanks for doing that. We got teamwork going here. This is collaboration.
Right.
Yeah, this is the more I have, the longer it has been since I've gotten away from working in a corporate environment and I mean, being a sole proprietor, or being a corporation, which is what I am, having one-on-one time with people, what a luxury. What a luxury it is for me to be able to sit and be able to maybe touch somebody's arm if I'm with them, if we're meeting face to face or if we're meeting on Zoom. And it's so personal, it's so private, it's so intimate. And for your sake and what you're encouraging companies, I think I think this is the future. We don't have a choice. It cannot continue the way it has, the pushing, the shoving, and I've got to be more the bro dude mentality of faster, harder. I'm like, no, no, no. It can be soft, it can be productive, it can be beautiful, it can be easy. I mean, all these things, it can be this and that. And
Yep.
I mean, based on the conversations that we have had and you living your best. I mean, this is you get into the 50s, girl, gets even better. I mean, it just keeps getting better. I mean, I find, but that's also my attitude. I want it to keep getting better. So, like I said before, what you look for, you find. If you keep looking for great things, you look for miracles, you're going to find miracles. Obviously, obviously.
Well, I'm also looking for a partner. And when you asked what's the most difficult thing with these travels, it's being able to meet somebody who wants to be
Mm,
on this journey with me a little bit more seriously.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so I absolutely agree with you. Like what we look for, we find, and I found some amazing people along
Mm,
the way on this journey. I've met
mm,
so many fascinating people. And like just recently, a friend of mine in London introduced me to her boyfriend's sister. She and I became fast friends, can kind of communicate the way you and I do. And she wants me to go on a trip or watch her dog. And when I tell people about that part of my journey, they're immediately inviting me into their lives, which I think is something that's become so missing in modern society, of
Mm,
finding all the things wrong with
mm,
somebody and what
mm,
ways we disagree
mm,
is where can we find the
mm,
commonalities
mm.
and embrace those.
Yes. And it doesn't even have to be commonalities. This conversation where people are like, oh, I want to have somebody that would like minds. I'm like, no, I mean, but like we can't live in a vacuum. I mean, if I'm only surrounding myself with people who are just like me, then how exciting is that? I'm like, I don't want to be with me. I want to be with other people. I want to be with cool people who are coming to the table that are willing to share themselves. And you know what? It may be hard. It may be something. I mean, there are certain non-negotiables, like animal abuse. No, no, I can't. That doesn't work for me. Or children abuse or any kind of abuse. That's not okay. Um, but people who have different points of view, and that's what like caught my eye about your post that day, was how you were talking about cab drivers and that you don't speak the language and that you still it manages to work. Of course it does, because if you want it to, it will.
Yeah,
Huh.
I love that. The taxi driver story is a funny one that cracks everyone up. So if I'm in another country or have a Uber taxi driver who speaks another language, I have them teach me how to say, I don't speak that language in that language, so I can. It's a fun party trick when somebody says I'm from Bulgaria, and I can say "Asne govoria bulgarski" or "Je suis désolé, je ne parle pas français" or "Non sprechen Sie Deutsch" or "Non parlo molto bene italiano" or "Andi tete esaktosa."
That's a good one right there. I like that one.
So Tosa is in South Africa. So when I was in Cape Town, somebody told me that was at a wine tasting, that was their language. And when I said that, they were like, "How'd you do that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I had a Uber driver actually in San Francisco years ago who spoke Afrikaans,
Mm.
Tosa, and a third language, and he taught me all three of them. And we stayed in touch for years because it was just such a funny, cool, intimate moment. And
Oh, I love that.
I think
Mm.
in this polarizing world where sometimes when you ask somebody where they're from and they kind of get a little defensive, I'm like, oh, I just want to learn if I've been to your country or see if I can speak your
Yeah.
language, and oh,
Yeah.
what kind of food do you cook? And I'm so curious about all of the things, because like I said, why I use the dishwasher loading example is if you never step outside of your own zone and realize there all are alternative ways to cook different types of foods or different ways to see it's like perspective.
Mm.
It's completely changed my perspective. I mean, I've been
Mm.
traveling quite a bit since 2009, but these last 2 years of immersing a little bit more in
Mm.
different places and staying for longer periods has just been a gift that I will forever be grateful for.
Mm. Changes your life, doesn't it?
It does.
Mm. Beautiful. I love it. I love what you're doing, and I'm happy that you're sharing your gifts with the world, because the world needs more people like you. Um, so parting gifts. Do you have anything like on your heart that you really want to share with anybody listening right now? It could be one person that just is just waiting to hear these words from your heart.
Yeah. I would say the thing that has been most interesting that I want to have as parting words is when people say, I love your posts. I'm living vicariously through you. And my big question is, why vicariously?
Mhm.
I know not everyone can afford travel. I know not everyone loves it. So it doesn't even need to
Mm.
be international
No?
or national. It can be go to a different person's home in your hometown. Or like when I was in college, at Otterbein in Westerville, Ohio, I did this
Mm.
teaching program in New Mexico. And so it's still, it's still the same country, but it felt like a world apart. And I got to
Sure.
have homemade meal in
Mm.
a family's home of Native Americans who were just the most beautiful family and cooked foods I'd never heard of. And it's still the
Mm.
USA, but it was
Mm.
just a different thing. So I think what most people tell me is when they hear my story, it's that I'm brave or that I'm
Mm,
courageous for doing it. And I didn't ever associate that. I didn't know there was
mm,
something I was meant to be afraid of traveling
mm,
or visiting people, whether it's state by state again or country to country. So if you're living
mm,
vicariously through anyone,
mm,
not just me, I'm not the end all be all here, but instead of sitting and watching the next TV show, maybe find a new thing to read about or a new
mm,
place to visit. And in the words of Dr. Susan Jeffers, feel the fear and do it anyway.
mm. Huh.
That's my goal for people.
Oh, that's, when you said living vicariously, I thought again of the V, like the V just like popped right into my head, the
Yeah.
5, the vicarious. Yeah, that's, you're right. You're right. Looking at other people for what they're doing and admiring them or putting them up on a pedestal, like, oh, that I could never do what they're doing. That is sage advice. Like, to do something. If that means like you want to maybe travel something in your own village, you want to go to somebody else's house, or you want to go across town and maybe try something you haven't tried before. I mean, sometimes because I get cabin fever pretty quickly, and when I can't travel, I start looking at National Geographic on YouTube. I start watching travel
Oh, I love
channels.
that.
Yeah, because I want to
I love that.
experience people's worlds and especially food in different worlds, and of course the people. My passion also.
I love that. Well, I mean,
Mhm.
I think if I just used an easy example of you saying we met in Ohio, um, I've been all over Ohio, for example, and you can drive anywhere for a low cost. And there's different types of living there. There's a big Somalian culture, there's the Amish
Oh.
and Mennonite culture, there's inner city, there's country, there's so much to see and do just
Mm,
in your own communities.
mm,
And I think back to the question about my moving around and what's most difficult is I'm ready to find my community local
mhm,
and embed myself in that. So if anyone knows a really cool homestead kind of farm place somewhere
mm.
below the snow belt, I'm
Below the
that's
snow
what I'll
belt, okay.
likely what I'll do next. I hate cold weather, so
Mm, mm.
I'm kind of a weather chaser, but I I really want to build more community. And I feel like if everybody who is afraid to step out of the comfort zone and just
Mm,
be curious about other lifestyles, to just go check it out and try
yeah,
it and visit. And it can be no cost and local and easy, or it can be, you know, fly to Belize and drive a golf cart around San Pedro and have a blast.
San Pedro, yeah, but like you even said, the trusted house sitters, that is an organization where you explain what it is.
Okay, so it's basically like Airbnb with no funds exchanged and a pet in the home. So it could be a cat, a dog, birds, fish, what have you. Actually, there are some on there that are just people who want their mail brought in,
Yeah,
etc. And so
mm,
I paid an annual fee of like, I don't know, 250 bucks. So it's quite easy. They do a background check and then the homeowners list their home. So I've gotten to stay in beautiful mansions overlooking the bay or, cute little modest apartments. And I have the unbelievable joy of loving a pet. I've
mhm.
fallen in love with all of them so far. I've been super
Yeah,
lucky.
I would do that
Um,
too.
and then I also exercise my photography and I keep the homeowner aware of how they're doing via professional grade pictures of their pet.
Aw,
So
that's
it's quite
awesome.
fun.
Gosh, and that gives people an opportunity if you're a pet lover, if you wanna get out of your town and you wanna go experience something new, you can go take care of a sweet pet and stay there, and then you don't have to pay, and I mean, it's a win-win, win-win, win-win-win, I think.
It is.
I think. Alright, so we need to find you a man, we need to find you a homestead, and we need to find you a villa in Tuscany for dog sitting. Get on it, people. Get on it. Now that I know what your needs are, I will do my best.
I love it. Got to put it out there, right?
That's it. I'm proud of you for doing that. Thank you. We can all learn from that. We can all learn from, you know what? Yeah, we're good at giving, but how about also receiving, right? Having our hands and saying, thank you so much. I would really appreciate that. You took my question, and I
Thank you
received
so
you.
much.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking your time. I appreciate it. I have loved this conversation. And we don't know, maybe we'll find you living here in Sweden.
Oh
Well,
my
kind of,
gosh,
it's
that would
kind of
be
the snow belts,
amazing.
but but now with global warming, it's getting so much warmer here.
Well,
Oh,
I
it's
also,
terrible.
just for the listeners, I follow several amazing Instagram channels. One that's like cheap old houses, and one that's like houses abroad. And I found one in
Oh,
Sweden
okay.
that's super cheap, and I'm gonna send it to you and see if
Do
maybe we
that.
can be neighbors.
Yeah, you send me. I'll see where it is. We'll see where it is. I'm going to tell you. I know that we're taking a lot of time here now, but the story that I said in the beginning when you said OH. So this is a reference for people from Ohio or that people that went to Ohio State University. I went to Ohio State University and I lived in Ohio from 1983 till 2001. So a very large portion of my life I lived in Columbus, Ohio. And I didn't know anything about the Buckeyes. I didn't know anything about the football team. I didn't know, I wasn't not a part of it. And I was visiting friends in Chicago and they were huge Buckeye fans. And these people walked by us because they had Ohio State shirts on. And they're like, OH. I'm like, woohoo. I didn't know I was supposed to answer IO. My friends are like, oh my God, also you're the biggest loser. How do you not know you're supposed to say IO? I'm like, oh. Oh, I didn't know. Oh my God. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Now I know. Now I know. All right, darling. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank
today.
you. It's been
Thank
so
you.
fun talking
You
with
have
you.
filled my heart. I appreciate your time. All right. Take
Thank you so
care.
much.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.